What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Thanks for coming over to the DFS 5-pack. If you can, click the thumbs up button. Let's talk about a little playoff baseball here on the 7th of October. See if we can't pick the right two home run hitters, because yesterday I know we were big on Stanton, but if you didn't use Springer, it made it harder to cash because we had two double dong guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of baseball, right? If you don't have the double home run guy in your lineup, it's really hard to get to the top of a GPP. And even if you only have one or two, it's still tough to get to the very mountaintop if you don't have both of them.
Yeah, you need both of them there. I mean, luckily I had one lineup with D'Arnaud that cashed, but barely cashed. And that lineup, like Acuna, Ozuna, D'Arnaud were really good, and that lineup barely cashed.
That'll do it. Springer's double dong definitely was a slate changer, and then Stanton with his 900-foot home run in the second one, and then the coolest home run maybe that we've seen in a while to right field. So good for that one, but when you only have one of the two, it hurts a little bit. So let's talk about today. Most importantly, we've been talking about overlay for like a year now, guys, and if you haven't signed up to play with them yet, I would encourage you guys to go do so. I know we both liked the Walker Buehler over Clevenger pick yesterday, which worked out really well for both of us in the matchup shop. I hit up the Bam over a Linux one really, really hard, so it was a nice day over there. By 0.25 points, I missed out on a great day because I had a parlay bet with Kuzma over Markieff Morris that lost by 0.25. And even though I lost, that's the fun part of this that they're trying to sell. I knew exactly who I was rooting for and exactly who I was rooting against down the stretch of that fourth quarter in the NBA game. And that's part of the fun. You know, when we all make like 20 DK lineups or whatever you do, you're rooting for against so many people. I like the one-on-one matchup because I know exactly who I'm rooting for and exactly who I'm rooting against.
Amen. I feel the exact same way.
I know me and you aren't the only ones who have 9 fantasy teams and like 20 DK lineups and overlay, and you're a sports bettor on top of it. Sometimes it's just simplistic one-on-one can be really beautiful.
No doubt.
All right, guys, you sign up, make a deposit, screenshot it, and send it to me so I can give you a free 5-pack membership. Let's talk about who we're looking at today on the DK slate. Let's start with the pitching guys. We broke this one down for a while on the members-only video. When it came down to it, we don't love any of the starting pitchers out there, but we're both feeling decent about a chalky Ian Anderson today, who we project to be, very, very popular going up against the Marlins. I like this Marlins team, but let's call it like it is. They're definitely one of the weaker offenses out there. He got his playoff start out of the way, and he was brilliant against Cincinnati. In Cincinnati was terrible, so it was a really good start overall. It's a cash game lock for me. Now, if you want to get on board with the GPP fade due to popularity, I can understand that, but in cash games, this is definitely where I'm starting.
Yeah, I've started to write up a little bit, and him and Kershaw, like in any cash game or optimal type of build, you're just plugging them in. Anderson, obviously coming off a dominant start in his playoff debut, now in a really good matchup against the Marlins, very affordable at 8,200. Not going to be surprised if he's the highest owned pitcher on the slate, even higher owned than Kershaw. Either way, I think you plug both in your cash games and move on.
We talked about it for a long time on the members-only video, ways to be different in GPPs, but we did come to the same conclusion. Ride chalk in the cash games today, and Anderson's going to be one of them.
No doubt.
All right, speaking of this Atlanta Braves team, I know you're a fan of his. I know I'm a fan of his. It's hard for me to picture anybody, at least somebody who's not like 90 years old, not being a fan of Ronald Acuna Jr. And what he brings to the game. Monster power, monster leadoff home run yesterday to the opposite field. It is hard to hit the ball that far to the opposite field. He appears to be made for the stage. Big power, big speed. And the Marlins simply want no piece of him either.
That ball was absolutely demolished. We were like making a video at the time. I can't even remember which one, but that ball was destroyed. Singled late. He does it all. Big time power upside, big time speed upside. A lot of good outfielders on this slate, no doubt about that. But people love Acuna. What's not to love, as you talked about? He's in that first game, like their lineup's already out. So he's going to be really popular. But, man, he's a risky fade. You saw it yesterday. Like, even though Springer hit 2 home runs and he was a better play than Acuna, he only had like 6 more points than Acuna. So, he was right up there regardless. He's going to be popular, and he makes a lot of sense in any format.
We've been talking about this all postseason. Some guys were built for the big stage. Some guys aren't. This kid, I'll call him a kid because he's so young, but he's so good. He is built for this kind of a stage. Like, he lives for this kind of thing. I like him a lot today. And I'm with you, though. There's a lot of outfielders we like. We're going to get into a couple of more of them. But he is very shortlisted for me in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so with lots of good outfielders in play, we just want to get off of outfield for 1 minute and talk about the first base position. We broke down first base for a little bit. It's not a loaded position by any stretch today. But one of the guys that we're looking at is G-Man Choi of the Tampa Bay Rays. This is a lot about the cap space that he offers. He hits in the middle of the lineup for a good offensive team in the Tampa Bay Rays. He's only 3,100. Who do you think is going to be higher owned, him or Gurriel, for like the same price?
Yes. I think they both get love. I think they're both similarly owned.
Okay. I get that. There's no must at first base, but he's only 3,100. He homered in game one off of Garrett Cole. We kind of talked about that night. Walked and got hit by a pitch a couple times last night in the middle of that lineup. And again, Tanaka's no scrub. But on a slate like this, we're not scared to pick cheap Tampa Bay pieces against him.
No, not at all. I mean, obviously another guy that seems like he's built for the playoffs, homered off Cole and then was intentionally walked later. He's very affordable. He is coming in with slightly higher ownership projected than Gurriel, but it doesn't really mean much to me. If you like Choi better, do your thing. If you're stacking Houston and you like Gurriel, do your thing. They're both very cheap. At this point, Choi has more power, though.
Can't argue that. All right, speaking of power, the real Chris Davis with a K, he's looking like the old Chris Davis right now. This is a guy that was a staple in people's DFS lineups for a year, and then he's really had a bad couple of seasons, but he's looking like his own self right now. Homered in back-to-back games. He now has 3 playoff home runs. He's very inexpensive at 3,400. Urquidy is no Justin. This is one of about 6 or 7 outfielders that we like a lot today.
And I like Oakland, so wanted to bring up a piece of the A's and a really good piece at a very affordable price tag, as you mentioned. The other thing about Chris Davis, he homered off the lefty yesterday, but we prefer him against right-handed pitching. And people kind of always like the platoon advantage, even though that is not always the case. Davis crushes righties. Urquidy is not a guy that strikes people out. Like, this is a dream spot for Crush. I like him a ton here.
He's also the ball is flying out of the ballpark in this series. We talked about this yesterday. This is a park that plays pitcher advantage at nighttime, but during the day, the ball is traveling like it's Coors Field out there or something like that, with the ball leaving the ballpark left or right. This is a good spot for him, back against the wall. And now that we're talking about Chris Davis, if my memory serves me correctly, and I'm getting older, so it doesn't always do that, I think Chris has a long track record of just balling in day games too.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that, and what makes me like him even more. He still needs to do this for a while longer to go back to who he was from a couple years ago, but he's starting to show signs.
Yeah, he's 3,400 too, right? He's lower risk. We're not paying Ronald Acuna money for him.
No, we're not. No, we are not.
All right, speaking of cheap outfielders that we like today, again, outfield's pretty loaded. We started off our members only video, and I gave you guys 3 guys from the outfield that were very shortlisted to me for actually 4. And that was before we even got to Tommy Pham right here. And that just makes the outfield position a little bit deeper today and gives me more of a desire to run multiple GPPs as we talk this one through. The late night hammer of the Dodgers against the San Diego Padres is a little bit desirable. Something that we broke down in the members only video was, we know who's playing for these teams, but because starting lineups aren't out and people want to get their action right away, teams like the Dodgers and the Padres are going to be lower owned than they should.
Yes.
The Padres are matched up with Clayton Kershaw today. And Clayton Kershaw has had one of the better careers of any pitcher in the world, but he's had playoff issues. Now, he was great last time out against my Milwaukee Brewers, but the Brewers are all kinds of awful, and it doesn't mean that he's going to be great today. Pham's got stolen bases in 3 or 4 playoff games. San Diego's running like crazy. He's only 3,200. And I think San Diego comes in really low owned today because they're going against Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, I think they're probably the lowest owned team on the slate stack-wise because they're going against one of the highest owned pitchers, late game, all the above. So even if you want to use Kershaw and don't want to stack San Diego, I think Pham is more than in play here. 3,200. He doesn't have the power that Chris Davis does, but he's got power. He's got much more speed upside. San Diego, as you mentioned, is running like madmen. I like him in any sort of roster construction with Kershaw, without Kershaw, in a San Diego stack, in a non-San Diego stack. He's just a really nice filler piece. And I'm a big fan. He's much better than this price tag implies. I know it's a tough matchup, but anytime he's against a lefty, I'm interested. And when he's price like this, it's hard for me to not lock him in.
I'm smiling because I could literally hear you taking your time to say fan because that's really hard to say.
Yes, very hard to say.
All right, guys, that's what we got for today. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity later to talk to you guys about some NFL.
Yeah, thanks, guys.